What's poppin', people? It's your boy Eric back with another Magic video. I have a commander deck tech for you guys today. The commander for this deck is going to be Eshki Dragonclaw. It's not the 3-mana one from the commander set. This one is actually from the main set. And I saw this one and I'm like, yeah, this looks like so much fun. I played it once in draft and it was just so much fun that I'm like, yeah, I got to build around this. So let's just read Eshki. Eshki Dragonclaw is a 1, a green, a blue, and a red. So Teamer mana for a legendary creature, human warrior. She's a 4/4, has vigilance, trample, and ward 1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eshki Dragonclaw. So Eshki is a pretty big source of card draw and just basically our main win con in this deck. So it's going to be very much a deck that you want to have Eshki out as often as possible. The ward 1 helps us a little bit with fending off some stray removal or whatever, but yeah, you do want to try to protect her as best you can. Sorry if you hear any background noise. I do live with some other people. So the idea is, you want to cast a creature spell and a non-creature spell every single turn. So what better way to do that than to ensure each of your pieces of cardboard have a non-creature spell and a creature spell on it than with adventures. So we are playing 14 adventures and a sneak preview and an omen, Sagu Wildling from the main set. But basically, if you look at an adventure, they one half of the card is sorcery and the other or an instant, and the other half is a creature. So yeah, so what we're doing is basically every single card that we draw, and I'm not going to run through every one of these, but every card that we draw is going to be both a creature and a non-creature just to ensure that Eshki is triggered. Yeah, so here are just some of the adventures, like Brazen Borrower, of course, the Shield Breaker for some artifact removal, Carvanista Loyal Lupari gives us some protection. Eshki's a human, so it'll get indestructible, and then its other text is relevant as a creature. And then we have Questing Druid. Just look that up. Yeah, just look up these individually, and you'll see what they do. These are pretty much the best adventures. There's another a Lithid blue one that I'm not playing. I just don't want to deal with that one. Like turns creatures face down and stuff. I'm not dealing with that. So let's see. This one destroys an artifact or enchantment, and yeah. So we don't really care like what the adventures do or what the creature does. We literally just need it to trigger Eshki, because this deck is all about triggering Eshki. And so if you notice, it's at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you cast a creature spell and a non-creature spell, gets 2 counters and draw a card. That means for every single combat that you are involved in on your turn, you'll get a trigger. So I will touch more on that later. But here we have some cheap cantrips. So we have the Chromatic Sphere, just fixes our mana. Crimson Whisk is haste. Expedite is haste. These essentially do the same thing. Cataxian Probe is free. It's card draw. And then we have like Growth Spiral. These are just cheap cantrips. Mishra's Bubble costs 0. And then we have this is Opt, by the way. Scry 1, draw a card for instant for a blue. And then Preordain, and then Slip Through Space. Yep, you get a hint at some of the stuff the deck is doing. But these just, as soon as you play Eshki, it counts as the creature spell, and then if you play a really cheap card right after you play her, you get the first trigger. You get 2 counters and you draw a card. If you just read closely, because she counts herself as the creature, and then the non-creature is any non-creature. So it could be even Mishra's Bauble, costs 0. You play Eshki on turn 4, and you play Mishra's Bauble right after it, or before it, doesn't matter, the order even, which is nice. Then you go to combat, and then you just draw a card and get some counters. So the last thing we want to do in this deck is run out of cards. That's pretty much game over for us. So I have like 16 sources of card advantage. Beast Whisperer, of course, a bunch of cantrips, Edgeworld Innkeeper. Whenever you cast a creature that is an adventure, draw a card. Elemental Bond. When a creature you control with power 3 or greater enters, you draw a card, which is nice. What else? Jory N. Cast your second spell, draw a card. Crom is 1 more mana, but he gets a counter and he flies when you cast your second spell each turn. And then some more cantrips. This guy's kind of a weird card, but basically you plot him on turn 3, and then turn 4 you play him for free, and then you get an extra mana, and then whenever another creature with power 4 or greater enters, you draw a card. So it's some card advantage and some ramp in one little package, which is nice. Okay, and then we'll go to just a little dragon package. It just happened that there's some dragons. And then we have our Saga Wildling is 1 mana for the sorcery half, gets a land. So we always want to be card advantaging and ramping, because we're in green, so it ramps pretty well. And then we have Savage Ventmaw, which is one piece of the combo. If you know this combo, good for you. I'll go over it in a minute. And then we have Ireni, the Song Unending, which is just our biggest form of removal in this deck. This is version 1.0, by the way, but this nukes a couple of maybe 2-3 things. Then we have Embercleave to throw on our commander, and then of course Swiftfoot Boots because we want protection for our very important commander. And then so as you can see, we are going to do extra combats because Eshki is a beginning of combat trigger. So every time you enter a combat, you get 2 counters on Eshki and you draw a card. So what better way to do that than with Aggravated Assault? This is the best one of these. We also have Combat Celebrant. Full Throttle gives you 2 extra combats. And Seize the Day, if you have the mana for it, you can do 2 extra combats. But, let's see, untap target creature. Yeah, so you can untap Eshki. Well, you don't even have to. She has Vigilance, so untap something else. Yeah. But if you can see here, Savage Ventmaw and Aggravated Assault is a 2-card combo. When this attacks, it makes 6 mana, and then if you pay 5 mana, you get an extra combat. So not only is it infinite combats, it's also infinite red and green mana, as long as you can get your Ventmaw through unscathed. And I guess there's ways of making it indestructible, but I didn't really put that in the deck. But it's not really, it's kind of like a plan B, but it is a way to finish the game. And here's Saga Wildling again. It's a dragon, yeah. And here's our haste. I would like to probably put more haste, but these are the best ones: Crimson Wisps and Expedite. I think there's a couple more cards that just 1 mana give haste or something, but they're pretty bad. But like not on turn like exactly 5. When you play Eshki, you want to really have like 5 mana out when you play Eshki, so you can play a 1-drop, maybe haste card or maybe a free card. I'll get to those. Here's some adventures that give protection. Dread Lenorm. It's 4 mana to do the protection against 2 counters, untap it, and hexproof as an instant. And then the creature is just a big dumb creature. Honestly, we don't really care about the other creatures in this deck. They're pretty much just gravy, and they're there to trigger Eshki. So we have the Swiftfoot Boots for haste. And then with the ramp, I have a ton of ramp. We're in green. We want a lot of card draw. We want a lot of ramp. So Arcane Signet, there's Beanstalk Giant, which works. This guy makes mana dorks basically every turn. And then we have Cryptolith Right. If you got these dorks sitting around, hey, they might as well make mana. This one is Cultivate. You know that one very well. I just have that fancy version, so I'm using it. This Grand Warlord Rada is also just like Savage Ventmaw, but it's more conditional because it has to keep getting through and has to attack with a bunch of creatures. So if you have at least 5 creatures attacking unblocked somehow, I don't know how that's happening, but you can again go infinite with Aggravated Assault. We have Emerald Medallion. I'm playing this one and so the green one and the red one. Not playing the blue one because I looked over the deck list and there's really not much that it helps with other than the commander, but I didn't want to play all three. Then we have some Mana Dorks, Llanowar Elves, and Dragonclaw Mystic makes all three of the colors we care about. Kodama's Reach. This guy makes our adventures cost 2 less, which is quite good, especially with like the expensive ones, Beanstalk Giant, and you know, the Lenorm. They're like 7 mana. Be good if we can, you know, cast them. Some other notable cards: Teamer, Battle Crier makes our stuff cost less as well. Soul Ring, of course, yeah. And then for the removal, I mean, this is really where I will need to be retooling because I did not end up with too much removal. But we're just going to be attacking with our big dumb commander, and who cares about removal at that point? You know, the best removal is player removal, so that's our philosophy. But we do have Ureni, and this bounces something, that bounces something. 2 damage here, fight something there. You know, artifact removal. Gut Shot is a free spell that will help with Eshki, so there's that. And then we have Unblockable, so Aqueous Form is really good with Eshki. You just slap it on there, the turn you play Eshki or something, you trigger, then, you know, it's not unblockable. This one gives you 2 turns of unblockable and a sorcery, or non-creature. So through space, you know, it's a cantrip that gives unblockable. I love that card. And then we have, okay, a really interesting card I wanted to point out is Sword Coast Sailor. It's a background, but it just says commander creatures you own have. Whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, this creature can't be blocked this turn. So if you attack one of your opponents that has the most life, for the rest of that turn, your commander cannot be blocked. It's just the way it's worded. It just can't be blocked the rest of the turn. So if you just have a bunch of combats, you can go to town on the rest of your opponents, because you just need to attack the highest life total player once, and then it just can't be blocked this turn. So that just applies for the rest of the turn. Here's a bunch of lands. This is really not optimized. I just used pretty much the precon, plus I altered it a little bit with just a couple of better ones, like Rejuvenating Springs, like the untapped duels from Battle Bond, if you remember those. Yeah, and then just use whatever duels you have, but you want a bunch of duels. I'm playing a bunch of basics, probably not wise, but I have some ramp that wants it as well. So here's our 0-cost spells that you can just play the same turn that Eshki comes out. I do have another one. It's Darksteel Relic. And with this one, just a 0 mana non-creature spell. So you play Eshki as the creature, and then this as the non-creature, and boom, you get the trigger. And that's pretty much exactly what we want. But I had to cut it. It just doesn't. It literally does nothing. So I just thought, I'll try it, another time. Then we also, this was an interesting card you might want to try if you build this. I just happened to discover this. It says commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. So basically it works really well with adventures. You play the instant or sorcery, and then you play like the Beanstalk Giant for 7, you get 7 damage out of it. And it's a non-creature, of course, so could work. It's just a really expensive card for an effect that I didn't really care that much about. So and it's like target opponent. I don't. It's nice with adventures. And then of course I have Paradoxical Outcome. So it's a non-creature, of course. You just pick up all your adventure stuff and draw a bunch of cards, and then go to town. Seems pretty good. I think this card is criminally underplayed. I think it should be like, I think this is literally like a $20 card, or should be. It might be one day, in my opinion. So yeah, that's Eshki Dragonclaw deck tech. I'm having fun with it. I haven't played it yet, but I've goldfished with it, and it's a lot of fun. I'm obviously going to need to retool it for, some more removal. What's it called? Put some sweepers in there. I don't know. It's hard to make cuts because you want the adventures, but you want cards that do stuff too. So, it's a balancing act. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck tech, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.